Hello, ladies and gentlemen. We are back with the last of the character generation series. We're going to talk about skills, what the skills do, why would you get them, how to allocate them, everything to give your investigator what he or she needs to navigate themselves in the world of darkness and death, agony and insanity and loss of life.
Role-playing games thrive in fantastic worlds and at inclusive tables that embrace these core values for the most positive gaming experience. Donate to the Wounded Warrior Project via the link in the description below to help, honor, and empower our wounded heroes. On Thursdays and Saturdays, watch Heathen Dog's Dirty Casuals play multiplayer video games over on Twitch. On Sundays and Fridays, join us for tabletop role-playing game content on both YouTube and Rumble. Finally, please take a quick moment to like this video and share it with both your friends and on social media. If you have not done so, please subscribe to Legion of Myth and activate that bell icon to receive notifications of new content.
All right, here we are. We are looking at Chapter 4, Skills. So there were a lot of questions during character generation. They touched on a lot of skill stuff, but hopefully everything is fleshed out in this section and we can finish making our character with confidence. All right, so let's go up here. That is not what I wanted. There we go. That's what I wanted. All right, this chapter looks at skills in detail, providing definitions of their use and scope within the game. Each category of skill encompasses a range of possibilities, and to ensure brevity, that'd be nice, descriptions have to be general summaries of intent and coverage. Okay, skill definitions. Skills represent what is known within a certain area, and some skills are tagged with modern to denote that they can only be used in modern day setting. That makes sense. I mean, you're not going to have computer use in 1890s, just like you're probably not going to have buggy whip driver or whatever in the 2000s. Some skills are given a generic name, which may not be appropriate for some settings. For example, drive auto would not be suitable for a game set in Victorian London. In this case, use drive carriage. Now, there's a whole lot of free character sheets on the internet you can download that are specific to time periods. So it will have that changed for you. Drive auto will be drive carriage. So take a look at that. These are online, they're free, you can Google them, they're everywhere. Skill percentiles are not proportions of what is hypothetically knowable. If they were able to stack their respective knowledge on a table like poker chips and measure the difference, a physicist of 60% in modern day knows much more than a physicist of 90% skill in 1910. Okay, this one is meaning that, hey, when you cross eras, the base level of knowledge becomes greater. So a doctor in 1890 will have his best practices done, and he'll be an expert doctor in 1890. You move that same guy to 1990, he is a barbershop quack.
Leech him.
Yeah, leech him, right? No. Okay, so you can't mix eras like that and expect something else. Equally, some skills would be affected by location. A Japanese investigator might have a law skill of 75 in Japan. However, if the same investigator were tested on Spanish law, then you probably increase the level of difficulty of the role. That is hard or extreme, right? That makes sense. That makes sense. That's why each state has its own bar. You have to pass the bar in each state to practice in that state because each state's laws are different.
Oh, that was fun in finance too. I had to get licensed in multiple states for finance because all that stuff's real quick in case I missed it, and if you haven't got to it, then we'll move on. There are no percentage changes to roll. It's always just the standard roll, the hard, and the extreme.
So far,
okay. I like that for simplicity's sake. I think that's good.
So far, it seems that way. A skill level of 50% is high enough to let a character eke out a living from it. If an investigator rises high in a skill unrelated to their profession, player and keeper could confer about changing the investigator to a new profession. Okay, that's very telling. That's very telling. This is very important during character generation. That means if you are a bus driver, you are required to have bus driving skill at 50% or higher. You are required. That is the minimum level of professional driving. And same thing for a cop. You know, the law skill or whatever one of the appropriate skills for a cop. You have to have it 50% or higher. Lawyer, same thing. Doctor, same thing. Right? If you are a profession, one of your professional skills, I would say the main one, should be 50% or higher. That makes
right,
perfect
Mac? Have you seen bus drivers? I don't think they have a skill of 50.
Yeah, fair enough. Specific situations that arise in your game will require the keeper to make judgments about how to apply the rules regarding skill use. Some suggestions on how to use the skills in specific circumstances are given under individual skills. This suggestion is to encourage the keeper to make judgments rather than referring to a host of spot rules. Okay, that makes sense. I mean, when you explain the skills, hey, these are generally where the skill applies. Okay, great. That's a little help. Little crib sheet. I love it. Certain skills embody a wide range of knowledge, such as arts and crafts, fighting, firearms, and science, allowing investigators to specialize in narrower avenues of learning. We're going to get to skill specializations, obviously, just a sec. You see it. Some of the skills detailed below are termed uncommon, that are not included in the standard investigator sheet. Artillery, demolitions, hypnosis, read lips. If the keeper wishes to include these skills in the game because of era or because of theme, then, or if a player wishes to take one, this should be made clear. The keeper may introduce other skills depending on the setting and period. For example, if one were to set a game in the far future on an alien planet, then various new skills might be devised. Very important. You, as an average citizen, you are not going to learn to take apart an IED.
What?
No, you're not going to learn that as an average citizen. It's an uncommon skill, usually only for certain occupations. But
depending on how you in Fallujah,
depending on how you finesse your backstory, you can get it. If in your backstory your parents died in a car crash when you were 5 and you were taken in by your uncle who was a Gulf War veteran, and he decided to teach you skills to survive because he's a survivalist, then you can get survivalist type skills. One of those is making and disarming improvised electronic devices or explosive devices. That is doable now. You got yourself an uncommon skill choice because of your backstory. Think ahead. Think ahead. You can do it. Specializations. Some broad skills are broken into specializations. A player may spend skill points to purchase any skill specialization. The generic skill cannot be purchased. Thus, a player may spend points in fighting brawl or fighting spear, but not simply fighting. This is important because, yes, you learn karate. That doesn't mean you know taekwondo. It doesn't mean that you know stick fighting. It doesn't mean you know sword fighting. Although they're all under the same fighting skill to an extent, you have to specialize. All right. Some skills do that. Some skills don't. Let's see a little more of this. What do they mean? General level of ability by skill value. Okay, here we go. If you have 0 to 5%, you're a novice, complete amateur. You read a book about this. That's the extent of your knowledge. No practical experience whatsoever. You read a book and you're like, okay, I got the concept. You're worthless. 6 to 19, neophyte, beginner with a small amount of knowledge. You read a book and practiced for a little while.
You showed mom.
Yeah, you showed mom how to do it, right? 20 to 49, amateur, possesses some talent or training, hobby level. This is hobby level. All right. Let's say you learned lockpicking skill. Okay. And it's at level 42%. That means you've watched a lot of YouTube videos and you've actually bought a lot of cheap locks from Home Depot and practiced.
I should do that.
Great. That's great. You're not a professional locksmith yet, not until 50. 50 to 74, professional. Allows a character to eke out a living from this skill, equivalent to a bachelor's degree in a specific subject. Now you are considered competent, professionally competent, and enough to make money off it. If you have a 50% in art, then you can paint or mold clay. This is going to be specific. Or make poems or write songs at a professional level. You can sell them and expect to get some amount of money. That's fair. 75 to 89. You are now an expert. Advanced expertise corresponds with a master's degree or PhD. So, reading this and not knowing what else is in store, I would say if you want to be a doctor, because a doctor has to have a PhD, a doctorate in anything, you must have at least a 75% in that skill. Heart surgery, 75% or higher. You want to be a heart surgeon. Pediatrics, 75% or higher. You want to be a pediatric surgeon. Anything else, I will say no. You have to spend skill points in it, which to me makes perfect sense. You have to be better than pretty much everybody. If you have a 90% or higher, you are a master. You are the greatest at what you do. If someone were to make a list of the top 10 people in the world of your profession, 9 times out of 10, you're going to be on that list. All right. Let's see what else we have. Skill definition, we got that. In the case of arts and crafts, science, survival, these skills encompass a wide diversity of specializations. We're going to get into the specializations when we look at specific skills, because it'll tell you what you need to specialize in. Among the specializations are often a transferable skills and knowledge. At the end of this chapter, you'll find an optional rule for the transferable skill benefit. Let's read a little more about that. The investigators are trying to crack a numerical code. The keeper calls for a cryptography skill roll. A player lacking cryptography asks if he can use mathematics instead. Okay. Related skill. Let's see how
Depending
it works.
on the circumstance, sure, yeah.
Sure. The keeper allows the roll at an increased level of difficulty. A regular success was required with cryptography. Now a hard success is required when using mathematics in its place. So to expand this example, you have a 60% in cryptography and a 50% in math. Nope. Take that back. You have a 10% in cryptography and a 50% in math. Normally, it would be a normal roll, 10 or less, if you use cryptography. But if you use mathematics instead, it's a half roll. 25 or less is a success. So
that's
you have
only for the Sudoku style.
Yeah, you have a much greater chance of success with your mathematics skill because you're better at just basic crunching numbers. Okay. Opposing skill difficulty level. Here's where we get to the definitions. For each skill, entry notes are provided for which skill, if any, works in opposition and suggestions given on what constitutes a regular and hard difficulty level. The regular difficulty level requiring a roll equal to or below the skill value is the default roll. Where things are significantly more difficult, a hard difficulty level requiring a roll equal to or below half may be required. Okay. God damn it.
Goodbye.
Should the extreme difficulty level requiring a roll equal to 1/5 or below be called for only in the most extreme and dire situations. Sometimes this may be simply that the performance of the skill is greatly hindered, such as when being shot at or pursued, or when conditions are uniquely appalling. Some examples of extreme difficulty might include demolitions, diffuse an explosive device of a radically different design than any seen before, perhaps futuristic or alien origin. Electrical repair, working on futuristic or alien technology that uses a form of electronics. Think of Captain America saying, well, it looks like it runs on some form of electricity. That's how much knowledge you have of that electrical panel.
I'm still stuck on what Cthulhu monsters can be blowing stuff up. Why would you have alien explosives?
There are, as a matter of fact, as an example, the Migo. They're a fungus race, but they use high-tech alien stuff as part of their cover. They're the Roswell aliens.
Okay.
All right. Medicine, diagnosis and treatment of strange new or alien medical ailments. That is pretty common in the mythos. Like mythos diseases happen, and trying to cure that with a peanut butter shot in the butt, not going to work out. Get better. All right. Pushing skills. Okay, this is a new one. For each skill, a number of examples are provided for what might constitute a pushed roll. See page 84. We're going to see that during gameplay. And also some of the possible consequences for failing a pushed roll. The suggestions given should be viewed as simply that, suggestions. The latitude for what could justify a pushed roll is wide and should be best determined by actions, motivations, and events within the game. Likewise, the consequences of a failed roll will be best served inspiration. Okay, let's see what happens. Likewise, for appropriate example of a push roll. Examples merely provide ideas. It didn't explain what a push roll was. It's doing that on page 84. That's not going to be today. I'm sorry, guys. So I would imagine a pushed roll is I want to re-roll for the possibility of consequences of some kind. I would imagine it's something like that.
The only pushing roll I know comes from the Free League game, so I'm interested to see what this does.
You'll be interested next week to see what it does. Combined skill rolls. In some situations, a keeper may ask for a roll against more than one skill. Only one die roll is made. The result is then compared with each of the skills named. The keeper will specify whether a success is required for both skills or if only one of the skills need be successful. That doesn't make any sense then. No, both must be successful or this rule is worthless. Why compare something that doesn't matter? Doesn't matter. I don't get it.
Maybe there's an example later. Oh, there you go.
A deranged cultist suddenly draws a gun on Harvey. The keeper asks for either a spot hidden roll or a psychology roll from Harvey. A success on either will allow Harvey to anticipate the attacker's action. Okay, I get it now. And perhaps give Harvey a chance to act first. Okay, I get it. It's saving time. You're saving on a single roll. Both of these apply. Both of these can be done as more like a split-second action. So roll once. If you win either, you can do this thing.
Gotcha.
I get it. That makes more sense. That makes more sense. Okay, skill list. Here's your skill list. Omega denotes only available in modern games. The twig, I guess, denotes an uncommon skill. And the elder sign denotes a skill that is broken up into various separate skills with probably mandatory specializations. Arts and crafts, mandatory specialization. Artillery skill, not common. Not a lot of people know how to fire a 20 millimeter cannon unless you're specifically trained to do it. That makes sense. Okay. And then we have now what we're coming on the skill list. So Max, go ahead and choose one skill from each category. I want one Omega, one uncommon, and one elder sign.
You'll have to zoom in because I can barely see that. I can see the elder sign. No. Okay, I don't know why, because I just want to see what this game says about hypnosis.
Hypnosis, that's uncommon.
Okay.
Let me write that down.
And because I think you're right, let's verify it with this one. It's pretty easy. Let's do science. Okay. And then pick one without a symbol?
No. Did you pick one with...
I didn't see an Omega. I haven't seen an Omega.
Yet. Electronics is Omega. Actually, no. Pick one without a symbol. We know that the Omega symbol means only modern era type stuff. So pick one without a symbol.
First aid, because I want to see how powerful it is.
First aid. Okay. Okay. First, it's going to be F for first aid. Artillery, climb, getting close, fighting.
There it is.
First aid. There it is. Okay. The user is able to provide emergency medical care. This might encompass applying a splint to a broken leg, stemming bleeding, treating a burn, resuscitating a drowning victim, dressing wounds, etc. First aid cannot be used to treat diseases. It only stopgap type measure. To be effective, first aid must be delivered within 1 hour, in which case it grants 1 hit point.
Okay.
It may be attempted once, with subsequent attempts constituting a pushed roll. 2 people can work together to administer first aid, with success granted if either one of them rolls a success. That's good. Successful use of first aid can rouse an unconscious person to a consciousness as long as they get to at least 1 hit point. Character is limited in 1 successful treatment of both first aid and medicine until further damage is taken. or some healing is taking place, I would say. When treating a dying character, successful first aid stabilizes him or her for 1 hour and grants 1 temporary hit point. At the end of that hour and each hour thereafter, the character must make a successful con roll to remain stabilized. Otherwise, if you fail it, the character is dying and loses the temporary hit point and must now make a con roll per round to stave off death. Or you can now make another first aid roll because they've taken damage. You can try and stabilize them again. First aid can be attempted again, right there. First aid and only first aid can save a life of a dying character, after which they must receive a successful medicine roll or be hospitalized. Thus, first aid is an important skill to have alongside medicine if you wish to be an effective medic. Opposing skill, difficulty level. Administering first aid to a fellow human is always a regular difficulty level. If one were treating an alien whose physiology was unfamiliar, it would be difficult level would be higher. It doesn't say high. Is it hard or extreme? Depending on the keeper's judgment.
Which is good.
Yeah, which is fine. Yeah. But I would also say that environmental effects would affect my adjudication on regular, hard, and extreme. For example, if you are trying to stop someone bleeding out, they lost their arm, and you don't have anything to tie a tourniquet and you have no bandages, I'm going to say that's at least hard, maybe even extreme. Because how are you going to stop that arterial blood flow without those two things? I don't know, man. You're winging it.
I have whiskey. That's like medicine.
Not so much. No.
Oh.
Not so much. Okay. And it's right next to hypnosis. Look at that. Which is an uncommon skill, a skill that you would not normally have unless it's part of your background. The user is able to induce a trance-like state in a willing target who experiences heightened suggestibility, relaxation, and possible recall of forgotten memories. There is a telling word in that statement. It's willing. You are not going to hypnotize an unwilling target. Let's find out. The limits of hypnotism should be decided by the keeper to fit the game. It may be that only willing, it just said that. Or the keeper may allow it to be used on unwilling targets in a more aggressive manner. Maybe if there was also under torture, break down their will, then they're susceptible without being willing.
How many
I would
lights?
say something like that. The skill may be utilized as hypnotherapy on those suffering mental trauma, reducing the effects of a phobia or mania on a patient. Successful use means the patient overcomes the phobia or mania on one occasion. Note that a series of successful hypnotherapy sessions may be needed to fully cure someone of a phobia. Minimum 1d6 sessions at the keeper's discretion. Well, that's actually cool. I like that because regular psychotherapy, the reason it makes you better is it makes you believe what you saw wasn't real, which can be detrimental to keeping in the mythos, right? Vampires aren't real, but my wife was eaten by a vampire right in front of me. No. That wasn't real. That was just in your mind. Oh, okay. The next time you see a vampire, you're like, delusion. And then you die, right? But with hypnotherapy, you can combat the negative effects of this knowledge without erasing the knowledge.
The only thing I don't like about this skill is it doesn't say, the hypnotherapy part of it is good, and I think it's defined enough. But the other hypnosis access, go back to the top of the skill. Used to induce a translate state in a willing target. How long does that take? Because there are people out there who think that if you go dingle, 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 all of a sudden somebody's hypnotized. That's just not how it works.
That's true. You're absolutely right. But it lets the keeper give what kind of time frame he wants.
Yeah, and if you want that to work for your game, like the old Doctor Who's where you should just spin something around, all of a sudden they're hypnotized. If you want to, there's nothing inherently wrong with that. I'm just saying that there are a lot of people who believe some of the myths of hypnosis that.
Yeah. But it is a game, so the level of realism doesn't have to be 100%. Opposing skill, difficulty level. Hypnosis is opposed with psychology or POW for an unwilling subject. Okay. Yeah, you're trying to convince me something. I use my willpower, which is your power, to fight it.
Okay. Or I use science psychology.
Yeah, or use actual psychology going, no, that's quackery. Pushing examples, increasing your influence on the target by ensuring their full and undivided attention. Assault the target senses with confusing lights or props. Use of drugs to make the target more. That's what I was talking about. So you can push your roll if you use enhanced interrogation techniques. Let's see what happens if you still fail. Some past memory or trauma is brought to the surface, causing the target 1d6 sanity loss. Whoops. The target falls into a trance, causing them to walk in front of a bus at a later time. The target's mind, or the investigator's mind, is temporarily emptied, allowing possession by a malevolent entity. That's a lot of bad juju right there.
So failing can be fun, but not advisable.
Yes. All right, and the last one was science. Science. Oops, did I go too far? Science. There it is. Science. Ride. Science.
Is that a brain in the jar?
Yes.
I want one.
You want one? Okay.
Aren't you supposed to win one of those for me?
They wouldn't let me. All right. Science. Specialization starts at 1%. That means this requires a specialization. Let's find out. Practical and theoretical ability with a science specialty would suggest some degree of formalized education and training, although a well-read amateur scientist may also be a possibility. Understanding this and scope is limited by the era. That makes sense. You may spend skill points to purchase any skill specialization. The generic science skill cannot be purchased. It must be specialized. Each specialty covers a particular discipline, and the list given is not exhaustive. Many specialties cross and overlap in knowledge. For example, mathematics and cryptography from our earlier example, botany and biology, chemistry and pharmacy. When a character does not have the obvious discipline, then they may roll against an allied specialty with an increased level of difficulty. That makes sense. Opposing skill difficulty level. Regular difficulty. Conducting an experiment. Being aware of current scientific theory within your field of specialty. Working with proper equipment. All of that is a regular roll. Okay. Hard difficulty. Conducting a particularly demanding experiment. Deciphering disorganized or partial scientific records. Or working with improvised equipment. Okay. For example, if you are a seismologist and you want to measure the aftershocks of an earthquake, if you do not have a seismometer, you can make one out of a tin can, a couple needles, and a dumbwaiter. You can do that.
The railroad track.
Or do that, but it's considered improvised equipment. It'll be at half skill level. I get it. That's fine. Pushing examples. Taking more time for study, conducting further research, consulting another expert, taking risks. Ooh, I don't like that last part. That last part's how labs explode. That's not good. But if you want to double your research time, like you spend a month researching a topic and you fail, maybe you can push your roll by researching another month and rolling again. But what happens if you fail your pushed roll? The experiment goes completely awry, causing unforeseen damage, explosion, fire, electrical shock, expulsion to the sixth dimension, etc. You incorrectly, that's like Buckaroo Banzai, right? You incorrectly prepare the formulae for the magical powder with disastrous results. If an insane investigator fails a pushed roll, he or she begins to explore an aspect of weird science related to their specialization. This may ultimately lead to the actual developments akin to those of Crawford Tillinghast in Lovecraft's From Beyond. Now, if you don't know From Beyond, it's on my Plex. It's an excellent movie. You have to watch it. It's about as good as the short story. But Crawford Tillinghast was a guy who invented a scientific machine to break down the barriers between our dimension and another dimension. This
That
other
sounds
dimension.
dumb.
What's that?
Why would you do that?
Because he's already insane. He was
okay.
already insane in the beginning.
Okay, fair enough.
All right. So what he didn't care about, what other people realized later, is that life forms that live in that dimension are inherently antagonistic toward us in every way. So once they see us, he brings down the veil between dimensions and they can now see us. They kill us. It's not good. Excellent movie. I recommend everyone watch it. And these are the specializations. Now, again, you as a keeper and a player can and should, if appropriate, add or take away some specializations depending on your game. Forensics, engineering, cryptography, chemistry, geology, mathematics, meteorology, pharmacy, zoology, physics. Notice, seismology wasn't in there, but it is a completely valid science specialization, right? So yeah, those are the skills. Now, what I want to do is, just for everyone's, funsies stuff, I want to figure out page 80, was it 82?
I thought it was 84.
84 for pushing stuff. Pushing the roll. Let's see what it actually does. I want to know. Before we end this, I want to know this. Pushing a skill roll provides a player with a second and final attempt to achieve a goal. Okay, good. A push roll is only allowed if it can be justified, and if it's up to the player to do this. Whenever a player asks, "Can I push the roll?" the keeper says, "What are you, stupid?" No, it doesn't say that. What action are you taking to push the situation? What can you possibly do to give yourself a better chance now that you've already failed? The player has to come up with something. And if the keeper agrees, you get to roll again. By making a pushed roll, the player is upping the ante and giving the keeper permission to bring dire consequences should the roll be failed a second time. Pushing a roll means pushing the situation to the limit. Pushed roll success. Player's goal is achieved. Guess what? You got a second chance. That's all you get. That's success, right? You fail, you're boned. Failing a pushed roll grants keeper free reign over the outcome, including damage, sanity checks, loss of equipment, isolation from the rest of investigators, capture, and so on. The keeper can even incorporate the player's goal being achieved, but at some form of cost, like a Pyrrhic victory would be appropriate. When a player fails a pushed roll, he or she is giving the keeper license to make the investigators' lives more difficult. Okay, here's the deal. I don't like pushed rolls. I didn't like it in Free League, and I don't like it here. That's my opinion. If you fail, you fail. All right? Do something else. Try something else. Do whatever.
Is the standard the same here, where it's like the point of push roll in Free League, for example, is because you cannot roll again. You either succeed or fail. There's no like, well, I'll try again next round. No, you cannot do that in Free League. Is it the same issue here?
It doesn't seem so.
Okay.
It does not seem so. So you can just try again later. Or again next round, unless it is absolutely time constrained. You do not have time for a second try.
Okay.
And you need to win. Then pushed rolls are okay. I get it. But the cost of failure is going to be steep. Never forget that. If you push your roll and you get the results of your second failure, if the words "that's not fair" come out of your mouth, I'm going to beat you with my book and throw you off the table.
It
forever.
Says free reign up there. It says the
free reign, dipshit. Free reign. I don't want, it's not fair. Or, but I have privilege. Shut up. Shut up. You asked me to beat you in the butt with everything I possibly can when you said I want to push my roll. You asked for this. Shut up. So now we know what pushed roll means when it's appropriate. Success and failure. That's excellent. I love it. I love it. Rolling the dice, success or failure. If you haven't gotten it already, it's your skill roll equal to or less than on percentile dice. That's your basic skill roll. If you have a skill of 40, you roll percentile dice. You roll a 40 or less, you succeed. If it's a hard difficulty, it goes down to 20. 20 or less succeeds. Extreme difficulty, 5 or less succeeds. No, 8 or less. Sorry, 8 or less succeeds. If you want to push a roll like that, good luck, brother. Good luck. Yeah, that's getting into game system, which we are going to get into next week.
Woohoo.
That's right.
I like that image. That's
Yeah,
a
this
pretty cool
image is
image. I like that one.
pretty badass. Trees with skulls on them. They're not made of skulls. They're actually, this guy's impaled on a tree branch. So this is a skull on a thing. That's pretty cool. But we've gone through skills. Okay. We know how to create a character. We now know how to use the skills, the difference between your professional, your occupational skills and your personal interest skills. And now we know how the skill roll works, how pushing your skill works, hard and extreme difficulty skills, how that affects your rolls. And that credit rating is a very important stat. It's a very, very important skill. Because people who say money isn't everything, they're just sad, poor people. They're sad, poor people. Money is everything. Sorry. That's the world we live in. You need a certain amount of money to even approach happiness. That level of money is dependent on the person, but you need a certain level.
So back when we were covering Palladium in 2022, we would do character creation. We'd talk about this, but we'd do an actual character creation at the end of that series. Are you planning on doing one at the end of the series? Like actually
if people want it.
Okay.
If people want, if you want me to make a character on screen, then I will do it. It'll be as a video, right? It'll be as a video, but I can do that. That's fine. I could even use the free character generator. Yeah. Use that. Show you how to use that so you can make it easy peasy. Right? Cool. But let's see some chat.
Okay. Like Obama says, I love the skill rules here because it lets me construct my favorite archetype, a stage magician who investigates the supernatural.
Hey man, that sounds great. And that is thematically appropriate for a lot of eras. So yeah, more power, man. That's awesome.
I thought he was busting your balls because we hated the stage magician in
no, stage magician in Palladium is a garbage OCC. It's absolutely worthless. But in Call of Cthulhu, a stage magician is adept at a lot of things that are going to be useful every single day. Sleight of hand, misdirection, all those things are going to be useful when you're fighting the occult, right? 100%.
Mac Thompson, peanut butter in the butt. What? If you've ever had the Lyme's disease shot, like when I went had to go live in Russia, before I went there, they gave me that peanut butter in the butt shot. I'm telling you, there is no more painful. Like it feels like peanut butter. I call it Jello, but it doesn't matter. Peanut butter Jello that you. Yes.
You get the shot, and the serum that you're injected with is so thick and takes so long to disperse into your muscle that it feels like there is a scoop of peanut butter in your ass or in your arm, and it's not going away. That's what we're talking about. And you'd be lucky you've never had one.
As a math nerd, I would only allow cryptography if the mathy character background that required him to know the matrix math, because math nerd pedantry. There are a couple comments on this. Basically, it's like it depends on what the encryption was, but that was the whole idea of it. Is just like at this point they combine. Yeah, if it's just gonna be a bunch of letters or weird symbols or something, you're probably not gonna be able to use mathematics for that.
But if there is a cipher of some kind that is based on a mathematical proof, which is a lot of ciphers nowadays, then mathematics will cross over into cryptography. What else we
got? Also, less sanity, less likely to get treatment, but more willing to be hypnotized?
No, sanity and willpower are two completely different things. You can be a very strong-willed person, but your sanity is so low that you don't really understand reality anymore the way normal people do. So your interpretation of events is now less human and based in human laws and human understanding. But you're still strong-willed. It's a trade-off.
And the last one, I think there's a misunderstanding here. So that's dumb. You should not require a book or movie's homework for a game. He didn't. He was just saying you should check it out.
Yeah, you should check it out because it's a really good book and a really good movie. Very good. Very entertaining, very well written, and exciting. It's not required reading. It's optional, but stressed just because it's an awesome movie.
Okay, well, there we go. That was, we started today with some character creation, ended up with some skills. So look forward to next week where we talk about the game. Do you know how long that's going to be? Because usually game system that's probably going to be the entirety of next week, my guess is.
It very well could be, yes.
Okay. So cool. Awesome. Well, I look forward to that. Let me get the thingy up. Please like, subscribe, and share. Remember, if you want him to do a character creation video for Call of Cthulhu 7th edition, go ahead and put that in the comments and let him know.